Die Welt, one of Germany's largest national newspapers, has redesigned the world's biggest captive air balloon as an oversized world globe. The balloon, as a Berlin landmark, rises in the air just a few steps away from their publishing house and emphasizes the loyalty of Die Welt to their capital city in an impressive and creative way. At a height of 150 meters, revealing an impressive view of the Berlin downtown to the furthest outskirts of the city. There's no doubt about it, you will never forget the sight of the world balloon.
Oh ja, sehr schön.
Yeah, it's fun.
That's absolutely beautiful. It's a bit scary up here. It is.
Alors le fonctionnement du ballon captif, c'est un ballon assez spécial.
It's a really special balloon. It always lands from where it takes off because it's attached to the ground by a cable.
Le ballon veut monter et il est tenu par un
Even when
câble.
carrying a load of up to 30 people, the balloon can still be raised to a height of around 150 meters. Then, using a traction engine, the balloon is pulled by a cable back to its starting point. Now it's been officially baptized, and from now on is called the World Balloon. This year, Die Welt newspaper is celebrating its 60th anniversary, and they have made sure they have an outstandingly remarkable presence in the sky over Berlin.
Ein journalistischer Lehrmeister von mir.
A journalist teacher of mine from the Neue Zürcher Zeitung once told me,
Eine Zeitung müsse immer in der Mitte des Geschehens.
a newspaper must always be in the centre of the action, but always above it. I think this balloon embodies this concept of journalism perfectly. And as I've been told, it rises really high, but it always comes down again. Keeping in the tradition of Potsdamer Platz, the balloon is situated on the former no man's land that previously divided the east from west. It took a great deal of effort to transform this wasteland into what it is now and what it will become, but we succeeded, and the balloon is there. At the time the wall came down, this strip of land, or so-called strip of death, had been in a state of hibernation. Old cellars, rubble, debris and wild vegetation had to be removed. Only then could the real construction work begin. But then winter returned for a couple of weeks, and Berlin was transformed into an ideal winter landscape. This didn't worry the construction workers. Even in such cold temperatures, the concrete could still be laid, although a great deal of other work was delayed. In our warehouse in Berlin-Köpenick, the temperatures were a little more agreeable. Here, the men from the air service team gave the balloon a new look. Even the pilots lent a hand and accomplished a small miracle. You have to be familiar with the profession. You have to know where the risks are. And the question again and again is, how do I implement something and make it happen? Two of the work team transferred the outline of a computer-generated design with chalk onto the segments of cloth. The segments of cloth were fitted onto the balloon. Then, using brushes, they pushed the chalk outline through the cloth and onto the balloon. Then you just had to go over the chalk outline with a pencil before applying the paint. For the larger areas, the workers used paint rollers to create an even surface of blue colour. The art director, who was a theatre painter, had the steadiest hand with a brush, was responsible for rendering the edges of the design and the meridian lines. The logo on both sides of the balloon was one of the more difficult tasks. The logo with text was applied twice on the balloon. This is the only one of its kind in the world. A logo of this size and of such fine quality is, in my opinion, extremely unique. At the end of each working day, the balloon was inflated, so the freshly applied paint could dry without creating creases. Meanwhile, outside at the launching site, the work continues. All the foundations were prefabricated in concrete. This construction method was extremely flexible and even allowed for the parts to be used again in case of a change of location. Scene change. The tropical islands, 35 kilometers from downtown Berlin. A hall originally built for the construction of airships is now used as a tropical bathing paradise. Here there was enough space to inflate the world balloon completely for the first time. The goal of this extravagant action is to check the integrity of the balloon. A few hours were needed to inflate the balloon, enough time for the pilots to check for holes from the inside. If any holes had been found, they are repaired from the outside cover. Safety is paramount. The balloon has to withstand double the normal amount of pressure needed to inflate it for a couple of hours. The balloon remains inflated, and Frank Hellberg of Air Service Berlin is pleased with the work the team has done. The colleagues, or the Hi-Flyer pilots, have worked hard through the entire winter season. The proof is there to see, and you have to admit it's pretty impressive. Air Service Berlin will be happy to show Berliners and their guests for the World Cup Championship 2006 a view of Berlin from the air with Die Welt. A few days later, some finishing touches are made before the balloon is inflated in its new location. It's after midnight before the technicians can finally start filling the balloon with helium. In an impressive piece of theatre, the balloon rises up, bit by bit, into its holding net. Just before the end, things get really exciting. The balloon has to be moved 50 metres to its new launching site. One sudden gust of wind could snatch the balloon from the hands of the men. But the workers have everything under control, and by the early morning, the balloon is finally ready for takeoff. Now you can see it every day in the sky above Berlin, the world balloon. It's an exalting feeling to rise with it. To enjoy, from a unique perspective, the sights and landmarks of Berlin. With the world balloon, Berlin is at your feet. The balloon pilots are more than happy to welcome you on board.